Welcome to the Flag Bearer channel. This is Little Known Black History Facts. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Belle da Costa Greene, librarian to the richest man in America. Belle da Costa Greene was the moving force in organizing and expanding the collection of J.P. Morgan as the Morgan Library. Widely recognized as an authority on illuminated manuscripts and deeply respected as a cultural heritage executive, Greene was one of the most prominent librarians in American history. Belle da Costa Greene is well known for the instrumental role she played in building the exceptional collection of rare books and manuscripts formed by American financier J. Pierpont Morgan, who hired her as his personal librarian in 1905. J.P. Morgan was one of the richest men in the world at that time. Her mother was Genevieve Fleet, a music teacher and member of a well-known African-American family in Washington, D.C. Her father, Richard Theodore Greener, was the first black student and first black graduate of Harvard class of 1870. Richard Greener was also an attorney, a professor, a racial justice activist, and dean of the Howard University School of Law. He was also the first black male librarian at the University of South Carolina. The Greeners lived in Washington, D.C., and were considered black high society. Both her parents were from mixed-race families, and they were light-skinned as was she. Her birth certificate, which was discovered in 1999, identified her as colored. The family was raised in D.C. alongside Genevieve's relatives, but they relocated to New York in the mid-1880s when Richard was offered a position with the Grand Monument Association. Belle's parents separated and eventually divorced in the 1890s when she was 17 years old. In their rapidly changing world, Genevieve and Richard had differing opinions on raising their children. Genevieve saw their race as a hurdle and took advantage of their light skin. Genevieve used the divorce as an opportunity for her and the children. She dropped the R from Greener and any association with her former husband who had abandoned her and the family. Genevieve Greene determined to pass as white, and she and the children were listed beginning in the 1905 New York State Census as such. She swapped her children's middle names with da Costa in order to claim Portuguese ancestry, excusing their darker complexion. Altering their life to allow them to live as white resulted in further fabrications, including the story that she had grown up in Alexandria, Virginia. Belle was unable to afford college and went from public school into a job at the Princeton University Library. She soon mastered cataloging, served in the reference department, and became deeply interested in the library's rare book collection. This opened doors for Belle in a segregated America, and while working there, she met the cousin of J. Pierpont Morgan, who at the time was looking for someone to organize his growing collection. Greene's interest in rare books brought her to the attention of J.P. Morgan, who owned a large and disorganized collection of early books and manuscripts that was about to be placed in its own building in New York City. From 1905 to 1908, Greene worked to bring order to Morgan's great collection. Belle first organized, cataloged, and shelved Morgan's extensive collection. By then, her knowledge, tactfulness, and desire to expand the library secured J.P. Morgan's attention and trust, and he eventually allowed her to represent his interests abroad. She attended auctions, acquiring rare manuscripts, books, and art for the library. Most of the time, she was the only woman in the room, and she found ways to use this to her advantage. From 1908, she was traveling regularly to Europe as his agent, seeking out and purchasing additions to the Morgan Library collection. Belle worked tirelessly on these trips to increase her own knowledge of books and manuscripts. She became a well-known and respected figure to the leading libraries, galleries, and dealers in Europe. Being a woman librarian and director of a major institution was a big deal at that time. Greene was able to achieve what most women could not, especially during a time when they had just gotten the right to vote. It wasn't unheard of for Greene to be one of only 2 women on the auction floors, and the position made her known in collector circles. It also made her a feature in newspapers and other reports. Greene's face was seen globally, and she was photographed often and shown in trade publications for rare book collectors. Newspaper reporters would often notice her complexion. They would frequently point out her dark and coarser hair or her darker hued skin. Though her name was printed in newspaper articles and gossip columns, she avoided interviews due to her fear of revealing her true identity. Throughout her career, Belle's fabricated past threatened to reveal itself, and she struggled to keep her story straight between her family history, her age, and her name. The death of J.P. Morgan in 1913 left Belle in an uncertain position for a while. Morgan's son, J.P. Morgan Jr., had shown little interest in his father's collection. At the outbreak of World War I, Belle immersed herself wholeheartedly into war work. By 1920, the younger Morgan developed an interest in the library, which allowed Belle to resume her European research. In 1924, Morgan Jr. transformed the library into an incorporated and endowed educational institution and named Belle the director. She held the post for 24 years, during which she built it into a world center for scholarly research. Photographic and information services, together with programs of lectures and publications, were soon established. Her European trips would continue until 1936. Belle da Costa Greene ran the Morgan Library until the end of her life, not only organizing and constantly enlarging the collection, but also directing its exhibitions and lecture programs. Her late employer had left her $50,000, equivalent to $1.27 million in today's currency. This enabled her to buy and combine 2 apartments into a residence for herself and her mother on 40th Street in Manhattan's Murray Hill neighborhood, a few blocks from the Morgan Library. The inheritance and her library salary helped her and her family make it through Depression-era America. Belle da Costa Greene was librarian for J. Pierpont Morgan from 1905 to 1913, J.P. Morgan Jr. from 1913 to 1924, and director of the Pierpont Morgan Library from 1924 to 1948. Her career spanned 2 world wars and the Great Depression. Her declining health marked the years from then until her retirement in 1948. In 1949, an exhibition was mounted at the Morgan Library in her honor. Belle Greene died from cancer at the age of 71. She had burned all of her personal papers. There is no record of Greene's thoughts about passing as a white woman. However, before her death, she burned her 10-volume journals and diaries. Until next time, if you like little-known history facts as I do, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Press the bell to be notified of future uploads. Thank you for watching.